Well podcast with me, Jenny Yeremiy. The Calgary Environmental Round Table, or CERT for short, is a nonpartisan coalition of environmental and climate organizations working together to ensure that water, nature, and climate are front of mind and that our members have an ongoing opportunity to shape the future of our city. Through our candidate questionnaire, mayoral and ward podcast panels, and voter engagement tool, CERT is connecting residents with candidates, elevating environmental priorities, and empowering Calgarians to make informed choices at the ballot box. Municipal decisions directly affect the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the communities we live in. As Calgary continues to grow, we must prioritize clean water, biodiversity, and bold climate action to ensure a safe and thriving city for generations to come. Our list of supporters is growing. Reach out to add your organization. Send your candidates and network the CERT questionnaire. Encourage their participation and ongoing relationship building with their representatives. Remember to follow, like, subscribe, and share the Gravity Well podcast. Together we can build a resilient, healthy, and sustainable city for all Calgarians.
Welcome. We are on day 3 of the ward conversation. So today I'm very excited to welcome both Yule and Jaspriya Johal to the studio in a minute, but I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping before I do. So as the intro suggests, the Calgary Environmental Round Table is a climate, environment, and common good focused group of groups working together to ensure that water, nature, and biodiversity are front of mind, and that our members have ongoing opportunities to shape the future of our city. Municipal decisions directly affect the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the communities we live in. The goal of this campaign is to connect you with your candidates, elevating environmental and common good priorities, and empowering you and fellow Calgarians, to make informed choices at the ballot box and beyond. Thank you again to Jeremy Farkas for mayor, Ali Unwala for Ward 1, and both Jennifer Winus and Trevor Kavanagh for Ward 2 for your participation. You can check out their conversations with me and Kathleen Johnson and Preet Kang so far on the Gravity Well with Jenny Yeremiy YouTube page, as well as the CERT candidate forum on my website. The links will be included in this live stream. Okay, so CERT is super grateful for the opportunity to highlight candidates' vision for a green Calgary, and with these exclusive or panel interviews, and we're excited to hear from both Andrew and Jaspriya today. So this campaign will be most successful because of you and your support. We have had responses from 26 candidates across the city so far. That's about 40%. Please use the QR code in the corner and get them. If you haven't seen your candidates on my website, please get them to respond with their answers there. And I'm excited to say that we have the confirmation from Mayor Gondak and Jeremy Farkas that they will be participating in our mayoral forum on October 2nd at 7 p.m. Okay, so that's enough from me there. Before I start, just want to note that candidates hold a range of environmental positions, priorities, and objectives. This isn't a debate, it's a forum. So you get an opportunity to answer our questions free of any debate on this stage. Positions taken by participants, either individually or collectively, do not necessarily represent those of the Calgary Environmental Round Table as a whole. Again, CERT and this campaign do not endorse or recommend any candidates or political parties. Lastly, please remember to follow and like and subscribe to the Gravity Well podcast. That'll help gain reach for all the candidates and for the work that we are trying to do here. Okay, so now is the fun part. I'm going to bring on Andrew first. Andrew, welcome to the stage. I'm very glad to have you. So full disclosure, Andrew and I are both what were members of the Calgary Environmental Round Table. Andrew swiftly took a leave, as he did with the Nose Creek Park effort, which we'll get into in a second. But we had some brief overlap in the work we do, so it's just nice to have an opportunity to see you again, Andrew. So
thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'll start with a little bit of your bio, and then you can expand for me, please. So Andrew grew up in Hanson Ranch. He and his family chose to raise their family in Coventry Hills. Andrew has dedicated over a decade to community work within often forgotten area of Calgary. He believes that progress only happens when people are engaged, so he got involved to build a local high school. He also installed art around the community and has helped develop reliable transit. Most recently, he founded Nose Creek Preservation Society to protect our green space and speak for the value in biodiversity of Nose Creek. As Calgary grows, he sees an important leadership role there and understands the need for someone to understand the needs of the North and wants his independent voice to champion his community. Thank you so much for stepping forward. I know you're committed to moving the city forward, so thank you, Andrew. Anything in there? Actually, can you expand a little bit on Nose Creek and the reason why you were part of the Calgary Environmental Round Table, for example?
Yeah, I mean, I always call it my accidental knowledge. I kind of fell into that advocacy just from a neighborhood point of view. There was a neighbor that was sending through a flyer asking people to speak up about a road that was kind of going behind our houses, and it got me curious as to what that road led to. And for me, it got me down into the Nose Creek Valley, and I realized, even though I've lived here my whole life, there was a creek down there, and it was full of life. And so it really got me thinking that this area is actually pretty special. It is part of a bunch of different area structure plans with the city of Calgary that are, 20 years. They were planned 20 years ago for industrial area, but to me, it was just a really unique place that we have in North Central Calgary that I felt needed to be preserved. And so we started our efforts we started a campaign called Save Nose Creek, and that kind of morphed into a Nose Creek Preservation Society with, I think we're up to 68 members now. And people are really passionate about preserving some green space in North Central Calgary. Ward 3 doesn't actually have a regional park, and the Nose Creek, West Nose Creek valleys are just prime location for a preservation park.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much for elaborating. It's good to hear the backstory to that effort. Yep. Okay. I'm going to welcome Jaspriya on the screen. Hi, Jaspriya. Now, is it Johal? Have I said your last name correctly?
Yes, it is Jaspriya Johal.
Lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for filling out the forum and for joining us today. Really excited for you to be a part of this forum. Important for Wards 3 to see the people that are putting the work in. While we were chatting before we went live here, Andrew was saying how much footwork, how much walking is involved in being a candidate. So I feel for both of you, and you're almost there. So thank you for stepping up. So I'll do the same for you, Jaspriya. I'll offer a little bit of background, and then feel free to tell a personal story about yourself as well. So Jaspriya Jahal has called Calgary home for over 20 years. She's committed to raising her family here. She has a career with Alberta Health Services and has firsthand understanding of the challenges families face, from affordability to access to essential services. As an entrepreneur and mentor, she sees the importance of supporting small businesses and helping the next generation of leaders find their voice. Beyond her professional work, she's a tireless community advocate. She's served as director of the Livingstone Community Association, organized community cleanups and fundraisers, and has volunteered with groups like Guru Nanak Free Kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, so her leadership is rooted in action, not words. She knows what it takes to bring people together and solve problems, and wants to bring that dedication, passion, and determination to City Hall. So thank you again, both of you. It's a pleasure to have you here. Did you want to expand on that, Jaspriya? Any sort of, I gave Andrew the room to share a little story. If you do, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we can move forward.
I think you covered it all, but to add, because I have the lived experience from last 2 decades, raising my family here, I can tell why I'm running, why I'm stepping up. Like, I have a story too. We moved to Livingston 6 years ago from Panorama Hills, and having kids, school-going kids, there was no bus, no transit. As of September 1st, we got just first bus here. And that experience made me feel how it feels when growth outpaces services. So I think because of lived experience, we need to step up and get some re-elections going.
Yes, thank you. It's really interesting how you get touched by something and then you feel compelled to step up. I Totally hear you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so let's get into it. So as I was saying, this is a forum, so I'm just going to go through and take in some notes from what you guys offer me. I'll offer you a little bit of what I heard, and then I'll just go into the next one. So we'll just do this kind of back and forth. I'll go through Andrew and you this time, and then next time I'll go back through from Jaspriya to Andrew. Okay, so the first question is, Calgary's climate strategy outlines 5-year goals to reduce energy poverty and utility costs, creating clean energy economy jobs, improving public health, and building more equitable, climate-resilient communities. If elected, how will you work to achieve these outcomes for Calgarians? Andrew first, please.
Yeah, so I think based on my background, the 2 areas that I'm going to really focus on are the transit piece and the park space piece. Like Jaspriya said, like Livingston was built out for the green line to come up the center, and the green line's not coming in our lifetime. And so we actually need to do some big changes to make transit usable for all areas of Ward 3. And then as far as the park space is concerned, like like I said before, we don't have a regional park in North Central Calgary. And the Nose Creek Valley can be a connector of sorts. We're so worried about having connections through roads, but there's pathways and there's greenways that need to be considered in Ward 3 to make sure that our communities have kind of been built kind of siloed, like Northern Hills, Livingston, Carrington, Sandstone, McEwen, Hidden Valley, Henson Ranch. They've all been kind of siloed, and it's difficult to move between those communities unless you have a vehicle, and that's challenging. And so it's really a campaign about pathway systems, a pathway of transit, a pathway of active mode transportation, and a pathway of greenways for me. And so those are the 2 areas that I really want to make sure, because we are getting a lot of the density and the affordable housing in our area. But to me, affordable housing isn't affordable if you have to buy a vehicle to get around, because vehicles are super expensive. But that's how they've built North Central Calgary. They've built it so you have to have a vehicle to get around. And I'm hearing complaints about people parking all over the streets, and this is just a symptom of the fact that our transit is not usable. And so really comes down to pathways for me. I want to make sure that we have usable transit and usable pathways to connect the communities here in Ward 3.
Wonderful. Jaspriya, I'll let you go next before I respond. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you, Andrew. I'm so glad that we are aligning on the same thing, because we both live in this ward and we understand the commute is getting harder and harder, and there are a few bottlenecks. When we used to be in Panorama Hills, when there was no school, the high school, those lights were not a problem. But now at 5 p.m., especially at the rush hour, I think it takes half an hour to get to the left turn. Expanding, we all want growth. This is our strength. We want growth for economical reasons, for many other reasons, but it has to be a smarter growth. Making new communities is something we really want to do, but we have to choose smarter ways. Widening roads first, getting transit there first. We don't have to wait decades to get services. And for that whole decade, families like us, we suffer. And this is first time our kids are commuting to schools themselves. Otherwise, between my husband and myself, we had to really juggle our work schedules to take care of these things, and it's not easy. And when we talk about pathways, pedestrian, I'll tell you, and you probably would agree with that too. From Livingston to Panorama Hills, we have to cross Stony Trail. And if you're thinking to go on bike, it's actually not safe because there is nothing to connect, and it's very, very dangerous. And this is something city needs to plan when we are trying to connect community to community. It doesn't have to by car only. It has to be transit. It has to be by bike, for walking. I think we really need to smarter planning there. We need to have a smarter planning. But if you talk about climate change is no longer an abstract debate. It directly affects our cost of living, our health, and our children's future. Calgary's role in addressing the climate emergency cannot be cosmetic or about lofty promises. It must be actionable and accessible. My priority to make home retrofit and clean energy programs is to all access to all Calgarians, not just those with time to fight through red tape. They can save their utility bills. And I also pledge to boost Ward 3's trees canopy to double the tree area. It's, I think, 8% right now. And if we can go through this, it's 16%. I think Ward 3 has very less tree canopy here as compared to South. When you talk about Mount Royal or something, they have 95 percentile of that. And those areas were also developed on grasslands. And we are also, I think we deserve more trees here to balance climate and the way hail's happening, the way we are looking at September outside sun, this dry and all. Um, Climate needs some like high advocacy here to control things now. Otherwise, we are not going in right direction.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to back up and answer or speak to what I heard from you, Andrew. So I heard that you're going to focus on transit and parks, that you want that is so interesting. I didn't think about the Green Line impacting all of those communities that have been developed. That's shocking to understand that it won't be available to those communities now, and the massive adjustment that needs to be made. To the islands that you described, so all of the communities are basically like an island and not connected. So thinking about this pathways between them, not just for cars, but for transit and for parks and people. And that affordability needs to come with access to that. It's not enough to build affordable houses if you need to have a car or several to get around the city, which I am struggling with as well. Okay, and then also Jaspriya offered that you understand, yeah, it's 30 minutes to turn left on a spot. I can just totally picture that. I know from personal experience that families are suffering because of these decisions. These like very potentially broad decisions are not specific to area decisions. That there's nowhere to get across Stony Road safely on a bike is bananas to me. Like, we know people are going to want to do that. So that's pretty scary. And then thank you for acknowledging that climate change is no longer a debatable issue, that we have to take it seriously, and that it needs to be a primary decision-making lens that we operate. How, you want to increase trees by 2 times and make sure that we are balancing the climate in the work that we do going forward. The one thing I'm going to plug, because I haven't had a chance to say it in this, but like, it's not just trees. Like, my husband is doing a renaturalization project, and I'm sure, Andrew, you've learned a bit about this, but we talk about tree canopy and not necessarily the things that come with trees that would help support those trees from growing and gaining, stability with other biodiversity. Just plugging that thought with you guys. Mm. Okay, so just leading into the next question, and this one I'll let you lead, Jaspriya. So how will you ensure that new community development and redevelopment in Calgary protects our watersheds, rivers, creeks, wetlands, and wildlife, and urban biodiversity who depend on these ecosystems? Please.
I have seen how City Hall can ignore the voices of the very people it's supposed to serve. Take Nose Creek, one of the last resort spaces families could enjoy close to home. 78% of residents said they were against development there, but city went ahead anyways. How is that democratic? In communities like Livingston and Carrington, the lack of tree covered compared to the city average shows the same problem. Families here are not treated with same fairness or dignity. Everyone deserves shaded parks, healthy creeks, and natural spaces to enjoy, not in just some parts of city. In my view, protecting watersheds and green cover isn't a luxury. It's about respecting community voices, giving families equal access to nature, and building resilience against extreme weather events.
Whoops, sorry. Thank you. That's wonderful. Andrew, I'll let you go and then I'll comment. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a big, part of what I've been doing for the last 3 years is talking about setbacks when it comes to our creeks. With the Nose Creek running through what is zoned for an industrial area, it's the Stoney Industrial Area Structure Plan. They're not really thinking about the green space when it comes to industrial zoning, because it's rare that an industrial area is put in a sensitive habitat. And so there's been a lot of kind of questions I've had, and I appreciate, Jaspriya, you went to council to fight against the Aurora development, the NATO CNEP ASP. We just continue to try and develop in these sensitive areas, and the community is pushing back, and so we do need to listen to the community, like Jaspriya said, but we also need to look at what we are actually, our guidelines for our city. For the Nose Creek, the general guideline is 30-meter setback. You can develop up to 30 meters away from the Nose Creek, but in some of these areas in the industrial area, they have grandfathered setbacks because they bought before some of these guidelines were put in, and so those setbacks were 12 meters. And the reasoning I was given is, hey, well, the 12 meters is still better than the 6 meters that the province is requiring. And to me, like, the more I'm learning about creeks need room to meander. And we do need to be looking at our in sensitive areas in these industrial areas, because there's certain requirements that are not needed. One of the things you can do in an industrial area, like most developments, you need 10% green space. But in an industrial area, you can pay in lieu of that green space and just develop the whole area. And like, when we have the Nose Creek habitat, we really need to start, enforcing our rules and our guidelines, and maybe putting some policy behind some of these guidelines, because we need to protect these spaces. And I guess one success we had with the Nose Creek Preservation Society is the 128th Avenue road. The original plan was to reroute Nose Creek to fit the plan of the road that they're putting in. And we pushed back, and to the city's credit, the feasibility team worked with us closely, and we were able to push the clearance of that bridge back to allow for the creek meandering. But it requires a lot of attention from environmental groups and community groups to make sure that it doesn't just go kind of slip under the rug. And so really appreciate when people do show up to council and use their voice to speak for the creek, because if we don't speak, these decisions just slip under, because that's what we're dealing with the Stoney Industrial Area Structure Plan. It happened back in 2005, and nobody was really using their voices at that time. The only thing that the communities were concerned at the time was just for the traffic that it will create when we have such a unique ecosystem down in the Nose Creek Valley. So definitely want to really work with groups to make sure that we are adhering to the proper science setbacks to make sure that we are keeping these creeks healthy and all watersheds healthy.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay,
can I add something
sure,
as well? I really appreciate Andrew's work towards it, because I was reading it and I'm concerned because I'm part of it. Really, one thing, Andrew, you can also talk about it because you have worked so much. This is your baby. you know this inside out. As per the plan, they are making high school close to creek. I don't know. It's a good thing, but making it close to creek, and when we are talking about preserving creeks, how does that affect? And this creek is already, I think, a little polluted. And I don't know what your thoughts are there. I mean, you know it way better than I do. But this is something where we all, Ward 3's residents, need to come together, because this is the only space we have, and this is something that's been gifted to us here. We need to actually preserve and look into stuff where we can work towards preserving it. South has Fish Creek Park, and we don't have anything. We don't have anything in North Central, and this was the only place we had, and it's going away, which we understand, as Andrew said, development is needed, but not at cost of compromised services
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I think,
compromised ecosystem. Yeah.
yeah, the NATO CNEP area structure plan, to me, has always felt like an incomplete community. Yes, they put a high school next to the creek, and some mixed use sites, but like the plan is to throw 16,000 people into a smaller area, which we need density, we need transit oriented development. But if it's already going to be an incomplete community, we might as well reduce some of the development space and keep as much of that green space as possible. We talk about the green, or we talk about the tree canopy. We do need tree canopy, and I think the tendency is to throw a lot of our tree canopy into the Nose Creek Valley, which concerns me the more I've learned about our grasslands. The meadowlarks nest in those grasslands, and so they will not nest in the grasslands if there are trees present. So our tree canopy needs to be focused on the community areas, and a development next to a very sensitive habitat. We have beavers down in the West Nose Creek Valley. Those beavers will be threatened in all of this, because what I've learned through the Nose Creek Valley is beavers like to get into the infrastructure of the city. Over in Coventry Hills, our stormwater pond had 2 beavers move in, and sadly, this stormwater pond was built back in the early 2000s and didn't have the beaver-friendly stormwater infrastructure. And so those beavers built a dam, and it started filling up our stormwater pond because nothing was releasing. And sadly, the city had to terminate those beavers. And so that's my fear of this NATO CNEP area structure plan is these beavers have been living there. We know they've been living in the West Nose Creek Valley for years, and they've been undisturbed. But as soon as you put a McMansion or something next to the creek, people are going to be upset when those beavers come up and cut down their trees and bring them down, and it'll just cause human wildlife conflict that doesn't need to happen. So yeah, we do need to make proper investments, and we are. Like Ward 3 is taking on a ton of density north of Stony Trail, and so we want to make sure that we've grown out, like since the census in 2021, our Ward 3 population is the size of Airdrie, and we don't have a third of the infrastructure and amenities that Airdrie has in Ward 3, and so we gotta, green space is a essential part of it. I would say, if you look at Statistics Canada, we have been losing urban greenness, over the last 20 years. And we, of the major cities, have the lowest urban greenness of Toronto and Montreal. And this was a warning I gave at the beginning of this council's term, is we can't be sacrificing greenness, because every one of the new Calgarians that come into our city are going to need parks. And so definitely want to make sure that we don't sacrifice the green space. We do have a lot of crises. We have the housing crisis, and we have a need for more middle housing. But to me, the urban greenness is also a little bit of a crisis, being that we're down in the 30% of greenness in our city. So there's a lot of crises. We just got to balance them all.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's the dilemmas we're facing, not just yes or no thing. So I'll just summarize with saying you guys are really highlighting the importance, the inequity, number one, that we are seeing in Alberta. Jaspriya, you noted that in the first question too, that there is this discrepancy in different wards of the city. And this is a really good example of that. To understand that Airdrie has, 3 times the services for same size people, that is a really good way of measuring that. And that also those green spaces do impact hailstorm damage. For example, you look at the damage that happened in Calgary, most of it was in the areas without trees. And you're absolutely right. Had we invested in that, had we understood the importance of the natural infrastructure, we would have lessened the blow of that storm, literally and figuratively. Yeah. So, okay, let's move forward into the next question, please. So starting with you, Andrew, will you commit to dedicating budget dollars towards protecting Calgary's biodiversity, improving wildlife safety in urban environments, including through measures such as enforcing bird-friendly building standards, retrofitting existing structures, and supporting safe wildlife corridors? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I worked a little bit with the Calgary Urban Species Response Team with Save Nose Creek, and definitely learned a lot about my own kind of impact on bird safety and how we do need dots on our windows to make sure that birds aren't flying into them. And so I definitely, I've learned a lot through that advocacy, and I do want to work collaboratively with groups like Calgary Urban Species Response Team, because we are, classified as a bird-friendly city. We gotta make sure that we are following that up with action on especially, if we are planning to develop in the Nose Creek Valley. Like, I have learned about more birds down there than I ever knew were in Calgary. And so we do need to be protecting them and making sure that we are building right. And wildlife corridors is something, another thing that I'm learning more about. The amount of vehicle collisions with wildlife along Stony Trail and Deerfoot Trail is growing as we kind of build out. Because we are so close to Nose Creek. Nose Creek is a wildlife corridor. And so really want to, one of the stories that we have at the Nose Creek Preservation Society is when we first started, we had a pronghorned antelope that was making its way along the Nose Creek Valley. And we tracked it from north central Calgary 1 year, and then it moved its way up to Airdrie the next year. And we could tell it was the same one, because normally pronghorn antelope are in their herds. This one kind of got separated from its herd, but it was herding with both deer in our Nose Creek Valley and cows up in Airdrie. And so we knew it was kind of using the Nose Creek Valley as a wildlife corridor. And we don't like, you think about like wildlife corridors when you're driving out to Banff and they have the overpass for wildlife to go over. Those are really important, but we also need to think about those for our urban wildlife here in Calgary. One of the lofty goals I have with the Nose Creek Preservation Society is to get some sort of so the creek goes under the highway at Balzac Mall, the Cross Iron Mills. Having more of like a green overpass there as the entry to our city would be pretty amazing if we had a green overpass there, because there is going to be a lot of development north of Stony Trail along there. Like the city of Calgary goes all the way to basically to Balzac now. And so as we develop out that area, can we not include a active mode and wildlife corridor over the highway there, so that we keep connectivity with the wildlife? Because you think about all these like, there's definitely been the things that I've seen kind of use it as a corridor. We've had moose come through Nose Creek. We've had wolverines come through Nose Creek. We've had like I said, pronghorn antelope. But even I think the most important, and what I've learned through the Mistakis Institute, is our amphibians. 90% of of the city of Calgary's wetlands have been destroyed through development. And that interconnectivity of wetlands is needed for species like the tiger salamander. They need to be able to move between wetlands. And one thing I've seen is we had a follower who was a police officer in our area, and she was doing a check kind of in the district area of West, of Ward 3. And at 3 a.m., she caught video of a tiger salamander walking on the road because it's trying to get from one wetland to another. And that's how we lose tiger salamanders, is they have to move at night, but there's still vehicles on those roads. So that's been a huge push for me with the Nose Creek Preservation Society, is urban wildlife corridors. We need more of them in Calgary so that we can have more of that connectivity. And I'd love to work with other councillors to make, because that connectivity can also include pathway systems that could connect us again, like we talked about earlier in this session, that we are siloed as even as humans, not just wildlife, as humans need those corridors to get through our communities. So that's, I'll end it there.
Great. Jaspriya?
Yeah, this is actually very well discussed, because this area is not for us. It is for urban wildlife and birds as well. And we share space, and we need to respect that as well. As a mother raising 2 kids, I want them and every young Calgarian to grow up in a city where we see birds, wildlife, and healthy green spaces around us. I don't believe protecting nature is only about throwing dollars at it. It's about making smarter choices, as we discussed. This is one of the smarter choices, making pathways and all for urban wildlife to cross. And smarter choices make sure new buildings are bird friendly, that communities have spaces for wildlife to move, and we plant trees where shade is missing. But this is also about shared responsibility. It's residents, schools, community groups, and City Hall all doing their part so nature stays part of our daily lives.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's interesting. Like you say, we are classified as a bird-friendly city. So it's fascinating how little we know about bird. Like I just learned from Kathleen Johnson, who participated in this, that only 1% of strikes happen downtown Calgary. What? Yeah, this is an everybody problem, clearly. And so we should be, I think education on that would be massive out of the gates. Wildlife corridors. Yeah. So it's fascinating. Of course, Nose Creek is a wildlife corridor. And of course, we need to think about these continuous corridors. You spoke a bit earlier about the importance of beavers. Beavers are a keystone species, if I'm saying that right. So if they're not present, that's a big concern for our ecology. So it's really important to make sure that there is space for beavers. You guys both spoke about corridors for people and now for the wildlife. Jaspriya, I really liked hearing you say we need to respect the wild, that this is a home for wildlife too, not just for us. And all these amazing species that we have in Alberta that we just are taking for granted, it seems, at such a rapid pace. Antelope, I had no idea that we've had antelope in the city of Calgary. Moose, of course, we saw just a youth, or a young moose the other day, and was concerned it didn't have a parent. These are the things that we're witnessing now. Wolverines, I didn't know that either. And yeah, those salamanders, I've seen them at night, and I've also seen owls chase them on the road, which then can be a fatality in 2 ways. So yes, it's those unintended consequences, excuse me. Okay, thank you guys. So this next one, you guys have spoken to quite a bit already, but I'll give you space to again. So Jaspriya, first you. What steps will you take to ensure housing, rent, and transit in Calgary are affordable and accessible so more Calgarians can access services with dignity and live and work in a healthy city?
Well, I shared this earlier as well. I know how much families struggle when housing and transit don't meet their needs. When my family moved to Livingston, we spent 6 years without single bus route through our neighborhood. Between me and my husband, it was daily battle just to get our kids to and from school. Only this September, we finally got our first bus route, and it's still just one. And that's not families in city like Calgary should have to go through. Affordable housing and fair rents matter, But without safe and reliable and frequent transit year-round, families are left stranded. Transit isn't just city provided service, it's what open doors to better jobs, better education, and give seniors independence to live their lives with dignity. Especially when we talk about Carrington and Livingston, it's ethnic and it's a trend in these families where families live together, parents, it's multi-generational families here, and kids and parents, they are busy in work, but grandparents, seniors sitting at home, they need some sort of transit to commute. They need some sort of way to get out, but they feel stranded because they are dependent on kids to drive them around, and it's just not fair. Ward 3 needs representation who will be fighter for frequent, reliable transit that connects our neighborhoods quickly and effectively. For too long, Ward 3 has been denied this basic service. I believe planning for public service systems must reflect the real character of each neighborhood. Some are more residential, some are built around businesses or schools. That's why I do not support blanket rezoning, where one stroke of a pen decides everything without considering how unevaluated new projects for their fit in the community. After the rhythm of life of residents and family, we need equitable, thoughtful planning and inclusive budgeting, where every community gets the service that matches its need, where every family feels their city is working for them.
Wonderful. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, I think we touched on it before. Transit's going to be huge. We have an opportunity here to create better transit. I think the issue has always come, like my whole life. They said Green Line's coming, Green Line's coming, and the decisions that were made by this past council has started the Green Line. It started it way down in the southeast though. And so it's probably going to be decades before it ever reaches north central Calgary. And so we can't wait. We actually need proper transit up north central Calgary. And I'm really pushing. They've just announced that the 301 is now the max green, but it's not really a max, in my opinion, yet. And so it needs a lot of work to get to that point. It needs dedicated lanes. It needs priority service. And so like they've done great, nice work with some fancy stations that allows for the articulated buses, but it hasn't done anything for frequency. It hasn't done anything for timing or capacity. And so really want to make sure that we're pushing forward to make the max green an actual max green. And then north of Stoney, we have the 144th Avenue project. And that BRT project will connect the red line in the northwest all the way to the blue line in the northeast. And I think that first north crosstown bus system is huge. And if we can really amplify that, we will have a much more connected north central Calgary than we've ever had since I grew up here. But another, I guess, when we talk about accessibility, a program that we really need to protect is the fair entry program. This allows people that aren't as well off ability to get subsidized transit passes. That's really important so that people that need transit can use transit. I think there's a temptation for councils to come in and make cuts into the budget, and fair entry program comes up a lot. It's like it's easy to just slough that off. The allowing kids up to 12 to ride the bus for free, that's huge, and so shouldn't be taken away. And the fair entry program it's helping a lot of vulnerable Calgarians make a life here in Calgary when it's very expensive these days, especially like I talked about before, north central Calgary. You need a vehicle to get around because the transit is not as good as it should be. And so, yeah, those are some of the programs that I'd like to champion as Ward 3 councillor, and make sure that people can get around our ward.
Wonderful. The whole thought of 6 years to wait for one route, and that one route is not available and not really accessible still, is pretty bleak, quite honestly, to hear. Yeah, making sure that that people can live with dignity and that they have an ability to enjoy the city would be nice. To feel that you're trapped is pretty remarkable. Thinking about multi-generational families, I can tell you when I door knocked during the 2023 election, there's many families are living that way now. It's like any ethnicity. You can see it's a growing trend. In fact, I'm concerned about my kids being able to afford to live on their own. It's a reality that we have to start looking at in the city as what we're seeing for people's access to cars and their ability to own a space. So then I also heard about making this max green line actually more frequent and more the timing and making sure capacity and a crosstown busing system. Yeah, everything in Calgary just goes to the center. There's nothing that really takes you around. Wouldn't that be nice to be able for me to go up to Tuscany quite easily rather than having to drive, like you said, anytime you do something like that. And then thank you for mentioning subsidies for low income families. That's super important. Okay, so this one will let you lead, Andrew. So ENMAX. ENMAX is it is wholly owned by the City of Calgary. What role do you see it playing in helping the city achieve its 2035 clean electricity goals? Thank you.
Well, I think one thing that comes up a lot at the doors is solar panels on houses, and I think there's a lot of confusion when it comes to them. Like, there's a lot of different vendors that are coming door to door to sell people these solar panels. So would definitely like to work on some guidelines and guides with the city to make sure that people are getting the proper solar panels, to make sure that people aren't getting kind of fleeced by some some good salesmen at the doors. Another comment that comes up at the doors with the solar panels is a lot of birds like to nest under the panels as well. So having the proper skirts around the panels as well. So just putting some guidelines, because I think people want it, and that's why you're seeing just kind of a huge influx of people putting solar panels on their houses. But a little bit of guidance, I think, will help residents, maneuver that. Another thing, like on my ENMAX bill, it sometimes tells me the rates of which, how my household does with other households, like in the area. There could be ability to advertise, what savings could I have gotten if I had solar panels on my house. Those type of just information things would be great from ENMAX. But one of the big things that I've dealt with the Nose Creek Preservation Society is the ENMAX Legacy Parks Fund. It comes through the dividend that the City of Calgary gets from owning the ENMAX utility. That fund has been very confusing to me, being the Nose Creek guy, trying to get a park built. How do I get on that list? How do I amplify my park? What is prioritized? I know there used to be a committee that would govern how we prioritize those, which funds which parks were funded and all that. Right now, it still don't know how they prioritize. It's more of the administration now that gets to decide which park goes forward. I feel like that needs a little bit of work with the next council, because another thing they did was they reduced the amount of the dividend that went into that fund, so that they could use it for other projects. And so it was that ENMAX Legacy Parks Fund is quite confusing to me, and I'd like to make sure that we have clear goals, clear processes for that ENMAX Legacy Park Fund.
Wonderful. Jaspriya?
I hear this often while talking to families at the door. People want to do right thing. They want cleaner energy, and they want to lower their bills. But when they try to apply for government programs to upgrade their homes or put in solar, the process is just too hard. The rules and requirements are so confusing that most of families just give up. That's not fair. NMAX must be central in meeting our clean electricity goals. We need simple, clear programs that everybody and anybody can use, not red tape that leaves family out. If we do this right, NMAX can be more than just a power company. It can be the reason Calgarians save money on their bills while doing their part for cleaner future. And it also addresses affordability right there. And when we talk about people going door to door, there's language barrier as well. And I think we need to advertise in a way, make them understand why it's needed, and come with the program funded simpler solutions so people can contribute to this act that we are trying to go.
Wow, thank you. So I'll start with you, Andrew. You were saying that guidelines. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to just have some clear guidelines for people? This is how you get there. This is why you're doing this. This is how it's going to reduce your costs. Man, that would just be so nice. Thank you for suggesting that. And then what could you say, Viv? I think that would be so incentivizing for people to see that. And also, this fund, I didn't know of the ENMAX Green Fund. And yes, wouldn't it be nice to know how clear it is for people to use it? And you guys were talking about, continuous wildlife corridors. Wouldn't it be nice to know that we can make sure we're meeting those goals through that fund? And that touches on what Jaspriya was saying, is that ENMAX can be a driver. It can be the reason why we are a champion in this space. And Calgary has clean, affordable, and accessible energy and water security in the future, for that matter. So, yeah, and just that they should be central. So thank you both for acknowledging the role that they should play. Okay, so here we go. Next question, Jaspriya, I think it's your turn to lead. How will you advance sustainable water use and watershed protection in Calgary's growth and development decisions, please?
Last year's water main break was a wake-up call for all of us. Families were worried about whether there would be enough water for daily life, and it showed us how much strain our aging infrastructure is under. To me, water stewardship also includes building redundancy into our systems so that one break doesn't bring the whole city to a standstill. But we can't forget water pipes and treatment plants don't exist in a vacuum. Even though I'm not a technical expert, but I know one thing for sure, we can't engineer our way out of climate pressures by ignoring nature's patterns. There isn't one single fix. It's a collective effort. City Hall must upgrade and plan smarter. Calgarians need to be judicious with how we use water. Respecting nature's limits and coexisting with it is the only way to make sure future generations don't face even bigger disruptions.
Go ahead, Andrew. Sorry, I was talking to myself.
No, so in 1997, the city of Calgary was sued by the municipalities of Strathmore and Chestermere because of the quality of the water that we were sending downstream. And that was from the polluted Nose Creek. Our Nose Creek empties into the Bow River, just by the channel that goes off to Chestermere and Strathmore. And so in 1997, after that, they started the Nose Creek the Nose Creek Watershed Partnership. And that's a partnership between the City of Calgary, Airdrie, Rocky View, Crossfield, the Airport Authority, to make meaningful changes to protect the watershed. Like we talked about before, Nose Creek is one of the most polluted watersheds in Alberta. We want to make sure that we are making steps to make it better. And there's a lot of remediation needed when it comes to old building. So I really want to be a councillor that is involved in that partnership. When I go to those meetings, they said it's been a while since a councillor actually came to one of their meetings. It was a councillor, it was a Ward 3 councillor that helped start that, and that was John Schmall he helped start that partnership. And so I really see a need for the Ward 3 councillor to be part of those meetings, making sure that they're getting updates on what's being done. There are some outflows into the Nose Creek Valley that there are no stormwater. It just goes straight into the creek. The one underneath Harvest Hills Boulevard takes about 60 hectares of road drainage and goes straight into the creek without any sort of filtration. And so we got to fix some of those problems. And there's ways to do it, and development and proper. Like every year they're kind of like improving on stormwater pond technology, and so we also need to look at some of the old infrastructure and make sure that we're kind of upgrading that. But I do want to be that councillor that is involved in that cross municipal meetings, because we've actually lost one of those avenues. The Calgary Metropolitan Region Board was disbanded just recently. And so we do need these opportunities to talk more with other municipalities, because the Nose Creek watershed is massive, and it goes from, so the West Nose Creek goes all the way up to Madden, Alberta, and the Nose Creek main stem goes all the way up to just north of Crossfield there. And so we're covering an area, a drainage area that is larger than the total area of Calgary. And it's all kind of flowing into our water system. And so I'm teaching, a lot of kids, elementary school students and high school students, more and more about our watershed, because it's really important to know that you shouldn't wash your car on your driveway, because a lot of this water is going right into our watershed and right into our habitats. And so education and just cross municipal work is really important in this councillor position.
Wonderful. I'll hopefully say some of the awesome things you guys said. So just having redundancy built into our system so that if there is failures, we have, we made it through safely, but who knows what could happen in a bigger situation, a bigger line kind of thing. Well, you understand, more area for less. Our bigger stem didn't get affected. It was the smaller stem that got affected, which is why I'm saying that. Okay, but thank you very much for saying that we can't outbuild the nature's patterns, and that so we have to look at this problem from that lens, and to appreciate that, water sustainability is a bigger thing than our infrastructure. The natural infrastructure is that bigger piece. That Nose Creek watershed is that big. I didn't appreciate that, and it's just so fascinating when you think about where our water comes from. We just are so blind to this in our everyday way of being. It's just amazing. We just turn on our taps and don't even think about it. And there's these the lack of filtration systems. Like you talked about the wetlands not being built properly, and this flow going across the roads and everything before it's coming before it meets the streams. So yeah, that's, I learned at the Watershed Council meeting that road tire is impacting fish populations. So this is a really good reason why we shouldn't be letting that water run that way. And that we lost the Calgary Metropolitan Regional Board. That's so important to bring into view so that people understand those collaboration conversations are harder to have, and we need to seek them out in other ways. Thank you for that. Okay, we made it to the last question. Thank you, guys. So how will you ensure recommendations from Calgarians include residents, frontline communities, environmental groups, and city staff? So that they're considered meaningfully in council decisions. I think you're first, Andrew, please.
Yeah, one of the big things that I'd like to do more in Ward 3 is more town halls. I think our voice is really needed at council. And so we definitely need to have more opportunities to engage with residents, with the different departments in administration, and making sure that communication is flowing. I think what we've learned since the pandemic is accurate, concise communication is really needed to make sure that people can understand the decisions being made. And one of the big things that I've learned with just doing the Nose Creek Preservation Society is the city of Calgary has formal referees. and the formal referees are the Ward 3 office, as well as the community association. So in a development permit, those two organizations, and also business improvement areas. Those are the three kind of official referees that will be notified of meetings coming up for a development or a land use change. These are the formal referees that get notified. What I learned, even though you ask to be a formal referee, that's not a thing. You can't just ask and say, hey, can I be notified if this comes to council? They don't have to notify you. So as a Nose Creek Preservation Society president, I would ask, and no, they don't have to tell me when this is planned to come to council. I have to watch for the development signs or the land use change signs. I have to watch for those. I have to be daily looking at the DMAP online to see if there's any meetings coming up. And so that frustrated me to no end, because I would miss ones. Like things would slip by because I would miss one of the land use changes or something. And so definitely one of the things I'm going to investigate. I'm not sure how successful I'll be, but could our environmental groups also be part of the formal referee when it comes to areas that are along Nose Creek or West Nose Creek? Can the Nose Creek Preservation Society be part of the distribution on some of these? Let's partner more. Like one of the big things with the Nose Creek Preservation Society is like we weren't anti-development, but we just wanted a conversation to happen. We wanted stakeholders to be at the same table so that we could talk. And what I learned from some of the developers is they're open to that. They want to have those conversations with community groups, so they don't get blindsided in a council meeting by a community group. And so let's try and get them part of the conversation early on, so that there aren't just big conflicts at council meetings later down the road. In absence of being able to do that, the other thing I've been working on with the City of Calgary is the ability to subscribe to a DMAP parcel on the DMAP. If I could subscribe and get notifications of changes to an application, or if I'm just interested in this one plot and it's like I'd love to know when the meetings are going to happen. If I could subscribe to that and get notifications, that would be an easy win for everybody, including the City of Calgary. And so I've been working slowly with the administration on the tech side, trying to get that working. And they've told me that they're working on it. And so if I could become councillor, I'd love to continue to press them to get working on it, because people just want it. Like if you could even just subscribe to an area around your house, so that you could get like notifications of like, hey, there's a development permit just around the corner if you want to make a submission for or against whatever that development is. So just really giving more power to our residents and our environmental groups to make sure that they can use their voice properly and efficiently at the City of Calgary.
Cool. Okay, Jaspriya, your turn.
Yeah, I really like this idea because I think this is actually very much needed, because I have lived in Ward 3 for 2 decades now, and I know how it feels when City Hall makes the decisions without truly listening to people who live here, right? Too often residents feel their voices are just box to be checked in a consultation instead of something that shapes the outcome, and that's not right. As your counselor, I will make sure engagement is not just a formality. My 3 guiding principles are accountability, transparency, and responsibility. I will advocate for a transparent decision-making process. As Andrew, it's kind of same thing we are talking about, like making some sort of a thing. I will advocate for transparent decision-making process where residents, frontline staff, environmental groups, and experts know their input is meaningfully considered. Every Calgarian should see their taxes reflected in the services they receive. Every decision should show accountability to people who are paying for it.
Wonderful. Okay, so this notification referee, that's such an interesting thing I didn't know about. And yeah, to be able to make sure that you can be added, it's interesting. You can't be just by asking. So yeah, and I think about, when you submit a petition to the federal government, for example, you can click off that box that says, I want to be notified on updates of this thing. It seems like there could be a very simple way that the city could be making sure that people who are interested can be updated in the things that they're interested in. So I love that. And then that's not a box checking exercise. You're right, Jaspriya. You go on those meetings and you put forward something really, scientifically sound, and then you're told, nah, anyway, we vote against it. And it feels like it's last minute, and it feels like it's not really considered. And, I think you guys have reflected through this whole conversation how it is an effort to get to the city and present things and be able to make meaningful steps. It's hard to do that as an individual. And so the more that people appreciate, like you, step forward for the city and realize that, we need people that are working these issues to be on council for us, working for us, is incredible. So I think Ward 3 is very fortunate to have both of you. Maybe I'll let you say each a couple closing words if you'd like. Jaspriya, I think you're first, please.
My vision is a Calgary where growth and nature go hand in hand, where new neighborhoods aren't left behind on services, where wetlands and watersheds are protected, where every community has the dignity of green space and reliable infrastructure. The three principles I work by are accountability, responsibility, and transparency. Every decision I make will be rooted in these values. My goal is simple: to leave a city to our kids that is stronger, fairer, and more resilient than the one we inherited.
Wonderful. Andrew?
Yeah, I'm excited to be putting my name forward here. It's been a long time coming. Like I said, I've done a lot of the advocacy work for 10 years now, and now is the right time for me to step up and put my name forward. And so definitely want to continue the advocacy that I've been working on at a council level. And yeah, hope to over the next, what do we got, like just under 4 weeks here in the election, just trying to meet as many people and encouraging people to reach out. My website is andrewyule.ca. Learn more about me, and definitely want to get into contact with as many people as I can. That is, I think, what we really need is a representative to be accessible and be able to raise the concerns of each and every constituent, because Ward 3 has always felt like the forgotten ward, and I know a lot of people feel that way. And so I want to make sure that their voice is not silenced, that it is brought to the forefront. Whether I agree with some of the content or not, it is important that a councillor helps people navigate the complexities at City Hall. And I hope to do that if I get the votes on October the 20th.
Wonderful. Wow. I wish you guys were in two different wards, because this is a remarkable conversation. You guys are both Ward 3 is very lucky to have you running for them. So thank you very much for your time. I'll let you guys get back at it. Good luck in the last stretch. And I'll add your websites, I've just realized, to the page as well, just in case people come that way. So thank you for thinking of that. Okay. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Okay, so just to remind you that we'd like you to use this QR code. Make sure you get your candidates to respond to our questionnaire tomorrow. I think I have somebody lined up for Ward 4. So tune in for that. I'm still waiting for somebody to step up for Ward 5. So if you're in Ward 5, please send your candidates a note using our QR code. And you can see all the candidates' responses on my website here under the Calgary Environmental Round Table section of it. There we go. And so, yeah, tune in to the next ones. I'll be doing this right through. And like I said, the mayoral forum is on October 2nd. So thank you so much. Have a great afternoon, everyone.